Hey. And away we go. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Big 12 Mafia Show. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown, and on this College Football Mafia Network, we go wall to wall. And tonight, we are talking with Colorado Buffalo superfan. That would be Fergie, formerly known as FF18 Buffs, but we're going to go by Fergie for the show tonight. We're going to be talking BYU, previewing BYU Colorado, which everybody nationally, John Kurtz just did a short on it, is saying it's the best bowl game this year around. It's just too bad it's not for a CFP playoff spot. Is that what you think too?
Yeah, Big 12 championship would have been awesome. Getting them both in the scenarios back when you were at the top, and we could have came together somehow.
Yeah.
But we'll play each other and settle it at the Alamo.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And I think that'll be a lot. That'll be highly watched, obviously, because of you guys and your coach. But there's a fair amount of LDS people who are going to be watching that game too. BYU fans wall to wall. So I'm assuming that's going to be a big number. I've said it's going to be over 10 million. What do you think?
I would agree. Ironically, we just heard that the Bronco game was set before this game, so it's going to be a long drinking day in Colorado on that day. You got the Broncos and the Buffs, so you got 6-7 hours of great football. So it's going to be good crowds.
That's something that we haven't really spoken about, and I know it's we're doing this sort of look back, this retrospective on the season as it went, and one of those things that I think the CFP needs to figure out is going head to head against the NFL on a Saturday. I realize the calendar has to work that way.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this week has sort of been always the week that the NFL can take over that Saturday spot, but now you have the CFP games. I think that will retard some of the viewership for these games. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there used to be that law or something about how college had Saturday and NFL had
It was
Sunday.
A handshake. It wasn't a law, but it was.
Well, I think the sad part is that the CFP came along and NFL is not honoring or is flexing
right
into that space. Now, obviously, they're going to not flex directly on CFP games, but they'll flex all over everything else, and that's somewhat of a tragedy. But luckily, they didn't. If they would have put the Broncos against the Buffs, that would have been a tragedy. So
yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it'll be a good game. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. We're also going to talk NIL recruiting, transfer portal. We'll put those all into one section. Colorado's been at the top of that table for 2 years now, and using that transfer portal and bringing in players during that transfer time has been something that Deion's lived with.
Yep.
And really made his sort of thing. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll also talk about the West Virginia game today. Did you get a chance to watch that?
I didn't. I had a little bit of work to get done before this podcast, so I did not watch it. My apologies. I should have. You said we need to watch the game so we can boost the ratings.
We do.
And I personally failed.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're the only one. It's just another. It's good they're having a changeover in West Virginia. That's all I can say. You see where things could go right, and then invariably they have troubles. Somewhere along the line, somebody named me as somebody that doesn't like West Virginia, which is a complete joke. I look at West Virginia a lot like I look at BYU and Utah, very on the edges.
Yep.
Have to do crazy things to stay relevant. And
we love West Virginia. We have a joke around here where we can't wait to play West Virginia because we're going to create a new trophy, the John Denver Trophy, because John Denver sings the greatest song there, and then Rocky Mountain High, Colorado So whoever wins, we're gonna play that song or have a John Denver trophy.
So that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. So do you guys actually play that at your games? I've unfortunately never been in Boulder for a football game.
We request it. It would be a great fourth quarter song because
Like third to fourth, right? Yeah.
as the lyrics go, and you hit this when he hits the conundrum of Colorado.
Right.
Imagine 53,000 saying
I
Colorado
know.
at the same time. No, our in-game entertainment is actually poor. A lot
Yeah.
of us big fans have been suggesting we fill out as much questionnaires or we talk to Rick George as much as we can. We got to step it up, especially with Prime.
I want to say Mike's got a comment. I just want to make sure we have that. 6-6 West Virginia hung in with a 10-2 Memphis. So let's be clear. I'm holding West Virginia to the Big 12 standard. I'm not really considering who they're playing.
Yeah,
But Mike, thank you very much for reminding everybody. It was definitely they were ranked, and there's other things you have going on there. But I just think it's time for Rich Rod to sort of get on the bike again and get that thing going. Because what Big 12 football will be much better when West Virginia is back up on top, don't you think?
legendary program back in the day when they had some of their key, not only Rich Rod but before that.
Yeah,
They're
Pat White,
that's a
one of the
yeah,
guys that sticks in my head. It's like he could do anything. And
yeah,
Pat White was one of the greatest quarterbacks
I would agree.
I've seen in college football. It reminded me of some of those Nebraska quarterbacks that won national championships. You just need to have the team around them.
Yep.
Anyway, so we'll talk a little bit about, like I said, recruiting, what's going on in the last few days, portal. The thing I want to touch on is this portal time frame is just a joke. You have kids leaving before their team's playing bowl games.
Yeah.
It's a mess, right?
Whoever makes decisions, whoever thinks this through, it seems scattershot. I think the bowl games have always mattered to me throughout my fandom, but obviously they're being chopped up. They're losing their players. I have learned, luckily, the first year of the transfer portal was traumatic to
Right.
fans, and now I think maybe you and we're getting used to tragically kids we love leaving, giving other kids a chance, having bowl games that are going to be uneven.
Right.
But thank goodness our two teams are both standing tall, and we're going to go at each other with pretty much our whole teams.
Yeah,
So
that's a great point. I think BYU's had 5 or 6 go in the portal, which is I think is the lowest in the Big 12, and Colorado's right there too. You guys might
yeah.
even be below us now because I think a couple came out today.
We've lost some second and third teamers.
Have you?
We've lost
Okay.
one starter so far. The inside linebacker, that's a great player, good kid. We wish him great luck, but everybody's gonna play, and our two deep has some players that have deserved some chances. So looking forward to having more kids and new numbers hop on the field.
That's an interesting point because I think it will make the game even that much more nuanced because there will be players that you wouldn't necessarily like who's number 80, whatever.
Yeah.
You didn't see him through all the season, but now he's getting a chance
Yep.
because some other players decided to step out early, which this is a no judgment zone here. If I was a kid that talented that I had a pretty good idea that I could get more money in the transfer portal, go to a different school, maybe a school that has a better opportunity to win.
Yep.
I wouldn't hold that against anybody. How do you feel? Maybe it's our age.
No, I actually, the
it's
one thing,
meritorious, I think.
well, initially my reaction as an old man, get off my lawn kind of attitude is like, oh, I wish this wouldn't happen, or why is the kid doing it? But someone made a good point that imagine players that used to be really low on draft grades or
Right.
going to be a free agent. They'll make more money playing that 5th or 6th year
Yes.
out of school, and it's well worth their chances to do that. And
Can I'm going to go to a screenshot here because that actually came out just this afternoon. I don't know if you caught it, but the lawsuit, sorry, let me make sure I share the right screen here. The Pavia quarterback for Vanderbilt, he sued to get another year of eligibility back, and today he was given an injunction basically saying, yeah, he can play. Him playing in junior college does not exercise or take that year away.
Yeah.
And I just want to read this really quick. I'm going to make this big. I apologize, everybody. You guys have been around long enough. You know how this works. But this is from Stuart Mandel. Let me post the link so everybody has it. We like to give credit where credit's due. So read this with me here. Story coming. But my initial read on the Diego Pavia decision is it's very bad for the NCAA. You know, surprise, surprise. They're going to appeal, but in the meantime, it opens the door to challenges to other eligibility rules. Here's the judge dumping cold water on the notion any of this has to do with academics at this point. You can throw the academics right out the window. And this is a quote I wanted to read from the ruling. It says, moreover, the NCAA has recently made changes to its rules that do not appear to support the staged goal of maintaining natural and standard degree progression. In other words, you stay for a 5th or 6th year, you play, but you have to take classes.
Yeah.
You're there as a student to do graduate student things or maybe a double major or something. Recently, the NCAA changed its rules to allow student athletes unlimited transfers between schools. The court finds it highly implausible that frequent transfers, even those within NCAA institutions, benefit an athlete's academic career and promote a natural and standard degree progression. In other words, what he's saying here, these kids are playing for money. They're getting money in NIL, lumping them in and saying they're now hemmed in by this natural and standard degree progression. It doesn't make sense on its face.
Correct.
As plaintiff points out, institutions are not guaranteed to accept transfer credits from another institution, whether it be another NCAA institution or a junior college. That in regards to transferring between schools, and then you have to bring your credits with you to have that progress to whatever your major ends up being. The NCAA's reliance on the goal of maintaining standard degree progression when it is convenient and eschewing it when it's not leads the court to conclude that the stated goal is merely a pretext to justify applying the eligibility timeframe to junior college athletes, even when it's clear that junior college does not provide an academic or athletic experience equivalent to that of Division I institutions. So what do you think about that, Fergie?
That is a lot of words that are going to say that there's going to be a lot of challenges. Kids are going to get a lot of years. We lost a kid 2 years ago that had to sit out for transfer pathway problems.
Right.
And sadly, he lost that year. This, though, leads to me, right now it's ugly. This leads me to say, I hope when we do get some structure placed in college football, we can actually have like a 5-year window cap. Like you have 5 years and maybe 1 year of medical application. It cannot remain wide open. It needs to turn out a little different. I do get the junior college to Division I. I've had soccer players and other players go that route because I do like to see a kid get on the field. Maybe they need to grow up a little bit. But boy, that was a lot of word salad that said there are open pathways to challenges endlessly. And it's going to be another avenue of just cloud over college football.
Yeah, I again, this all goes to a lot of the bigger issues like the antitrust exemption existing or not existing, the House ruling, along with those other rulings all at the same time that basically made it so unlimited transfer portal, and NIL are all available to everybody, and the money's there. It's just a matter of how you want to pay them. And it's just a mess. And so Congress is the one that would have to rein this in. This enterprise is interstate, and it needs federal protections, or else lawsuits like this one are going to continue to bog down the system. And Pavia, this is his 6th year. He's suing. Who's to say he can't sue for another year next year?
Yeah.
And then you could have 8, 9, 10-year students. You could have guys that left college that could make an argument. I would argue. I want to go back and I want to finish my degree.
Yeah.
Where's the age restrictions? We bring in these Australian rules football guys to come over and kick. They're like 28, 29.
Our kicker is 27.
Yeah. And obviously BYU has religious things, missions, kids go away and come back. So, I mean, how far are we away from a 30-year-old defensive end that blew out his knee when he's a junior and didn't graduate, wants to come back and finish his degree?
I could see a lot of guys that went to the NFL and then drifted down to a practice squad. They would love to come back and play college football and get some money. This is where Congress, the schools, the good of the programs, everyone needs to get together. I think everyone likes the Wild West right now because you can spend money, you can have fun, you can be competitive. I don't enjoy it as much as I think I would love to enjoy it, like we did in the past. It's a new age. Just put a few rules in place, get the years, get some contracts, clear up the transfer portal window, which was the original question about how in the world is it there
Right.
versus just after the last maybe regular bowl game. I know the problem is everyone's calendar, if they're on trimesters or if they got to
That's
get
right.
registered. And at this point, judges appear to be saying whatever you want. If you challenge, go for it. And so hopefully we can just get some semblance of normalcy, a semblance of goodness back in the game. It's the greatest game. It's such a wonderful thing for the whole country to enjoy. And I love hearing you and Moen and them talk about how the Big Two has pulled away from us, but I don't think that's right. I don't think that's beneficial. And I think the right things will happen in the long run, where especially schools like Colorado and BYU and all the great Big 12 schools will have a path back to where we were all equal 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so let's see where we can continue to move. But I do love the kids getting some money. There were no doubt we had kids that put their lives on the line and played the game for the love of it and didn't make any money and then went on to be whomever. And I have lots of
Right.
those friends. And I hope to see. There's so many things I don't understand though about being an employee of the university or having benefits or having health care, mental health
Healthcare
care.
is the one for me. Yeah, both mental and physical.
Yeah,
PTSD is a real thing. If you've had multiple head injuries, that PTSD it affects your entire life. Everything that
correct.
happens around you, your hand-eye coordination's affected. Ask Steve Young. I mean,
Yeah.
that
Well,
he had to retire
well,
because of it. So
it's really fresh for us, old Buffs fans, because we watched Travis win the Heisman,
right.
and Chris Fowler, who's a Colorado alum, mentioned Rashawn Salam, who tragically took his life because he had
Yeah.
CTE.
CTE. Yeah.
And so
And
we care about it. And I love football. I love people that hit hard. I like good tackling and just keep these guys safe so they don't need to blow each other up. And I do love that Prime adopted the soft caps and has tried to make our practices very safe. We've had very, very few, if any, practice concussions. And so I appreciate and we have a medical center in our champion center researching football safety in right with the players. If you
wow.
ever look at our videos, the championship center, which was a heck of an investment when we were terrible, of
Right.
about we
Right.
spent about $180 million to build the indoor building, a medical center, a research center, and Colorado's pretty big on player health and safety. So I appreciate that. I want to see those kids be able to play every week.
And I think, and you and I spoke about this right before we started the show. Colorado, let's just focus on Colorado for a second. First, I'm going to do some shout outs, and I'm going to ask you a question about Colorado itself and help everybody understand what it's like to live inside the bubble. Okay. Just chew on that for a little bit. We're going to do some shout outs because there's a lot of people here that started off with us, and they'll probably be here with us through the entire show. First one in the house was Stormy Cyclone, a member of the Mafia family. Good to have you here, Stormy. Excitement about Porthole. I think most team. Does he mean
It's a
the
nickname for the portal.
yeah, okay, Porthole. I think most teams are. Yeah, I tell you what, Iowa State has been active. I know everybody in the Big 12 is really trying to improve their teams. How many can have the money to do it? That'll be the big question, I think.
They're finding it. People are showing up now. Big money boosters are out and about now.
Yeah, they've come out of the covers. They're no longer bag men. They're not afraid of getting hit by the IRS, I think is where we're at now. Daniel Gygax, one of our contributors. Good to have you here, Daniel. Thanks for showing up. Says hi, everyone. Also a member of the Mafia family. Trent Brown, my brother. No, not really, but my brother's name. Good to have you here, Trent. It's great to see you. Let's go Cougs. Yeah, well, it'll be a good game. We're going to talk about Colorado BYU in just a little bit. Glenn Lumen, friend of mine checking in from the
Philippines.
Philippines. We are international here. I'm not sure if we got our other international people with us tonight, but Glenn, it's great to see you. I haven't seen you back in the States, so next time you come, you got to hit me up so we can go to lunch. I'm really looking forward to that. Mike G saying, is TH playing in the bowl game? We're talking about Travis Hunter.
I think he'll play a quarter and a half. I do not see him playing the whole game unless it's a tight game and he really wants to. There's a lot on the line for him, obviously, but he'll suit up. He'll play offense, defense. There's no doubt. Let's be honest. They're going to try to take a shot for him to get a big touchdown.
Oh, sure.
He's going to try to probably play with Jake a little bit to get a pick, but I don't see him going after halftime, but he'll be there to show up. Shedeur, same thing. And we'll see if we put another quarterback in the second half. So we'll see what happens.
Recently, there's been opt-outs for a lot of these guys that win big awards, and so having them in a bowl game is, I don't want to say it's super unique, but it is different. It used to happen all the time, and now it's
Now I'll give you a weird analogy that we've been understanding. Travis has big contracts now. He signed with Adidas. Him playing in games like this, and the chance that there'll be an Adidas commercial or the chance that there'll be a Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial, they should play. If they're not playing, it doesn't tie their big NIL. And Colorado, as much as people see different things, has probably the most true NIL, meaning Travis did not take collective money at all. He made about $4 to $5 million completely from companies.
Okay.
He has, if you fly into Denver, you're going to see Travis Hunter on United Airlines billboards all over DIA. And it's a very cute campaign where he's fueling the plane, taking your bag, taking your ticket, because he can do everything.
Okay. All right. I like it. It's like Bo Jackson.
Exactly.
That's cool. I like that. David Floyd, Big Ten and SEC schools are regretting pushing for NIL. It's all West Texas. Wreck-em. That's Texas Tech checking in. I tell you what, NIL is the great equalizer, right? Because you could be Marshall, not to knock Marshall, but you could have Marshall write a check and bring somebody in to play for the program for a year. And it's the number that matters. If you're a person that knows you're talented enough to get to the league, you don't care where you go play ball. You just want to go and make it to the NFL. If you're somebody on the edge, then maybe you want to be on a team that can do more feature stuff. But
it's going to skim the second and third team edges off of the Baylor.
I agree.
And to get them to other people. They used to hide away players that we would all,
of course,
we would love to. I mean, you look at our recruiting rankings, we never touched their third string guys.
Right.
I mean, that was tragic.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Let's see here. To Town Hawk checking in for Kansas. Howdy, everyone. Good to see you, to Town Hawk. Thanks for being here. Shonsky, what's up, guys? Good to see you, Shonsky. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. To Town Hawk, you've got a couple more comments in there we'll get to in a little bit. Let's see here. David Floyd says, Fergie, Texas Tech versus West Virginia has the John Denver Trophy.
What's the Texas Tech song?
I don't know. That's news to me. David, can you tell us? Oh, he says right here, John Denver attended Texas Tech.
Okay. Well, then let's just get the John Denver conference going, because essentially I just love the songs and the music, and his name is
with that.
John Denver. I'm in for let's have a three-way trophy there. That's good to go.
I think that'd be great. As long as you get Grandma's feather bed in it, that's all I care about. Antoine Codes checking in, another member of the Mafia family. Hey, everyone. Good to see you, Antoine. Arizona State, you guys got this extra week. Who you picking? You want Clemson or do you want Texas? Be careful who you pick, because Clemson's playing ball right now.
That's true.
Let's see here. Sam Kim, Rich Rod found himself. West Virginia was his home. He found his home. I think if you're a West Virginia fan, you have to be all in on Rich Rod, don't you?
If he's truly refreshed, and if they have the money and he puts his system in place, they'll be competitive.
All right. Very fair. Conundrum checking in for his usual bag on Big 12. He enjoys that on this show. So the Big 12 is 1-2 in bowl games, and the game hasn't even been played yet. Yeah, okay. All right, Conundrum, you can keep honest. That's fine. Keep chopping. Unlimited eligibility would be wild. going to be a lot of doctors playing college football. Yeah, I don't know. How do you age out? I don't. This ruling basically opens it up. You don't have to go to school almost. You just need
but there's a law. Like, I coached high school soccer. There was a law that you couldn't turn 19 during the high school season.
Right.
You'd be ineligible. So these are like, we have laws for 19-year-olds, but now we're Wild West on everything above it.
Until the federal government comes in my opinion, I don't think there's anybody. The NCAA they're asleep at the wheel.
Agreed.
So, they're, and maybe even you could say they're powerless. Even if they went to try to shift the gears, it wouldn't work. The gearbox would be locked. So
they are powerless.
The NCAA is probably one of the most powerless corporations in America, I think. What do they actually do? Basketball. That's the only thing you could say.
Agreed.
Sam Kim, Big Ten and the SEC have 67% of the power to make moves. Not sure what the rest can do about it. Sam, you're not wrong. Yep. We understand how that works.
We've got to figure out how to nudge our way back in.
Yeah, we're trying. That's part of the reason we do these shows is to try to, keep the eye on the Big 12, certainly. Mm-hmm. And try to, I don't know how you get that back. Is it too late? We don't know. Time will tell, I think. Nathan Campbell saying hi. Good to see you, Nathan. Steve Moser checking in. Troll loves another troll. I'm not sure who he's talking to. Is he talking to Sam Kim? Is he talking to Conundrum? Maybe he's talking to me. I don't think I'm trolling tonight. But let's see. Replica checking in. Another member of the Mafia family saying Secret Santa is handing out NIL bags for Christmas.
Yep.
That's not
the money. Off. The money right now, and we'll talk about it, is really out of control and pretty amazing right now. As far as what I know, even people were paid or will get paid, or like I mentioned, the Travis story. There was a really neat comment about him not getting anything from the collective, and he actually took his money and put it back into the collective for other guys.
See, that's cool. That builds tradition. It builds, honor, respect. Paying it forward. That's a big deal. That can help that program out a lot more than almost anything else I can imagine.
No doubt.
Conundrum saying, hit that like button. Yes, please, everybody, hit the like button before you forget. It's easy. It's free. Just click that thing and let us know how we're doing. Leave a comment or a question. Follow us on Twitter. You can see our handles right in front of you. And we certainly want you to come back. These shows are we're changing formats a little bit. We're maybe changing calendars. We're still going to try to stick with our Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, but we might change that up a little bit. So be prepared. The College Football Mafia Network's always trying to do new things. Maybe more short videos. I know Ute's been doing some short videos. Those are awesome.
Yes.
If you haven't had a chance to watch them, and you're a member, here, let me bring up our YouTube page so everybody can see it. So if you're a member, or if you're not a member for that matter, you go to our main page, College Football Mafia Network, and right here you hit this shorts button, and here's all the short videos that we've got cut out. Most of them are, on 1 or 2 minute topics, but the video section is where you get membership videos, and this is where it really comes through. All the membership videos, latest ones that we've done, these members only videos are fantastic. This Big 12 viewership analysis, I'm not sure how many people know Wild Ute, but he basically says the big schools are milking the small schools. It's kind of graphic, but it's actually very.
But it's a good thing. It's a good thing to look at for what we all need to do, top and bottom and collectively, to get together, and what schools need to do, because we need that viewership to try to push back up.
You're exactly right. It's a concerted effort. We need more people doing it.
Yep.
Bring more attention. I'm not sure that we have, if there's 40 creators that are in the top 500 that are talking about Big 12, that can't hurt, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to turn around and save anything, but it certainly can't hurt.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we're at now. A couple more comments, and then we're going to jump into BYU and Colorado. Chris E., I don't think other schools would allow Georgia to get Shedeur with filing complaints. Let's talk about Shedeur. He and Travis got to be gone, right?
Oh, they're gone. Yeah, Shedeur,
they have to be gone.
Shedeur's done with eligibility. Travis has got too many things going on. But Prime did make a comment. Shedeur was tampered with multiple times and offered $4 million or something like that 2 years ago when they were moving to Colorado. And it was more just along the lines of, could I pry him away?
Right.
But anybody of that caliber right now is in a dominant position, but they're on their way. Shedeur is the Giants and the Raiders. As a Buffs fan or a Denver fan, I don't want to see Shedeur and the Raiders and see him twice a year.
I'd
But
love him to go to Seattle, but Seattle would have to trade up to get him, and I
you
just
guys
wouldn't
got
want
too
them to
good
do it.
too good a record. I think the Giants and the Raiders are both in love with him, and they'll kind of duel it out to see who it is. Travis, I think odds are he falls to the Patriots, which would be fine. Christian Gonzalez, who's the premier corner for the Patriots, was a former Buff and then went to Oregon. And
Okay.
so I would love to see those two would really be a dominant backfield as corners. And I know people have the, I don't want to veer, but the
Yeah, you're fine.
Travis is going to be, in my opinion, 70% corner and 30% receiver in the NFL, because he could not play all the time, but he has to be able to allowed to play the wide receiver. But imagine just put him in second and long and third and long, for wide receiver. So,
Well, I mean, Dion did it, right?
yep.
Charles Woodson even played some receiver for a little bit when he was at the Raiders. So
Yeah.
we know it can be done. It's just,
You got to keep the snaps down.
the snap count would have to, you'd have maybe put him in as a nickel corner, because then you're cheating. I would rather, if I was the coach of one of these teams, I would have him at corner.
I would too. Like, I think we all agree that he should play corner 100% of the time, lock it down, then come off the field and rest, and then second and long, third and long,
Right.
he goes in and gets, say, 30 wide receiver snaps. So maybe it's 60 snaps, 30 snaps, because NFL games have less snaps, longer play clocks.
Right.
They don't, nobody really runs a hurry up. So
it's roughly what, they're about 85 or 90 snaps a game in general.
Correct.
So
Maximum.
you double that. Now you're 160, 180, whatever that number ends up being. That would be tough.
Yeah.
Even now you say 30 snaps, you're talking about at wide receiver for the entire 17 game season. That's what you're saying?
30 snaps. I think 20 to 30 snaps a game. He's going to go hard until
a
he gets
game.
injured.
A game.
He's going to go hard until he's injured. You don't. I think he played 120 in college.
Yeah, but college is not the NFL. I mean, people are out there killing people. Seriously, anyway. It's gonna be fascinating to see where they end up. Definitely. Correct. I would love, like I said, I would love Seattle to trade up. I'm not going to say who they could trade to get capital to go to the top, but there are a couple players they could trade.
Yep.
And maybe get that, in the top 3. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Mike McDonald's a good coach. We'll have to see how the offseason goes. All right. Let's jump into BYU versus Colorado, the preview for the Alamo Bowl, which is arguably the best bowl game outside of the CFP games.
Correct.
Just so everybody knows, it's going to be the biggest number. We talked about it earlier. They're not head-to-head with the Broncos for the I guess they're pre-playoff games is starting this weekend in the NFL.
Yep.
But obviously, there's going to be a lot of people watching this game. What are some of the things that stand out to you as you look at this matchup?
So I even looked at the Big 12 stats a little bit earlier, and this is an incredibly well matched up game, meaning the Buffs have the 3rd ranked offense, BYU the 6th, BYU the number 1 defense. The Buffs, believe it or not, have the 6th best defense, which is why
I didn't know that, really. Okay.
We improved a lot. Well, we've got the good corners, and then we brought in the big guys. And besides the games that we will admit we got smoked, the 3 games where the other team was able to run the ball, which worries us overall. But we had a good defense. We have a great defensive coordinator. So my opinion is this is truly going to be a great game. Colorado's going to throw. BYU is going to stay balanced, which is going to make it, which is why you guys had such a great season. I love the matchup. Like you said, the best part about it is good time slot, 2 great audiences, good fan bases. If it stays a nice, tight, competitive, entertaining game and people stay on the game all night, it's going to be a great time. down there. So we need to, I will be honest, we need to win it. We've lost the last couple Alamo Bowls. We personally just want to win the Alamo Bowl. Otherwise, we never want to go back because
I can understand that.
It's just not it's just not been a friendly game. We sent our 2016 team, which was good, and we got pounded by Oklahoma State.
Right. I remember that game.
Yeah. And so we really we want to not lose the Alamo like the people had lost the Alamo. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to the matchups between the coaches. Dion and Kalani, arguably two of the most straight arrow coaches you're ever going to see in your life.
Yep.
Playing each other in a bowl game that, honestly, if you watched the Big 12 all season long, this was the game everybody wanted in the championship. Everybody was talking about this at week 10, week 11, and Kansas came through and wrecked it for both of us. And I like Kansas. That's unfortunate. I'm going to have to start hating on them now. But they had that run that sort of, took us out of that sort of promotion, getting to the championship game and then possibly making the CFP. As you already looked at the different groups as they match up, are there any individual players that stand out to you either on BYU or on Colorado that you think might make the difference?
Well, we've been talking nonstop about your quarterback. They're just the real respect on tape that he does a good job being a college quarterback. He makes plays and things happen. You've got some receivers that are as good as anybody. And so our DBs, obviously Travis and DJ and Colton and those guys are going to really don't want to get burned by some good throws. I don't know. Special teams, we are not that special at special teams.
And BYU is number one, I think.
We
1 or 2.
I will tell you the biggest thing, Nathan. Our biggest off-season thing is can we get some touchbacks because we do not, and that makes no sense. I'm sure you remember Mason Crosby and people like you're in the mountains. You should kick it out of the end zone all the time. And we're going to enjoy some kick returns. We're going to enjoy some punt returns. We got good kick returners. You got good punt. We all got good returners. So it's going to be a fun, old-fashioned game. Shedeur, I think if he has time and the offensive line has really improved on that, Shedeur could really slice and dice. I was thinking either center of the field. Was it you guys or I can't remember which game it was where everyone kept commenting they should just stay on the center of the field throws.
That was me over and over and over again. I could not understand during the Utah game. I was there in person. The center of the field, the 2 drives they went down and got touchdowns on, or at least one, and then a field goal.
Yeah.
The middle of the field was wide open the entire time.
Yeah.
And I don't expect that to be the case with Colorado. You guys' DBs are much better.
We'll cover it better. The only thing, if you've seen, the interesting thing about us is we get killed on crossing routes, and I don't know if that's just because we go out man to man,
right?
And if you do a good crossing route, whether it's legal or illegal,
right,
and you get rid of our man guy, it gets picked off. Big things happen, and we're not very fast in the middle linebacker, and so I don't know how good your tight end is. If you have a good tight end, we'll leave him open, to be honest.
The tight end, that's one of the complaints I have with Aaron Roderick is the tight ends have disappeared at BYU. I mean, we for 20 years, 30 years, we had tight ends going to the NFL and win Super Bowls. I don't understand. Aaron Roderick's just the worst. Can I just say that? I want him gone so bad. Unfortunately, they won too many games, so they're not going to get rid of them.
It's interesting how you specifically call out your OC. What's funny is when we started with Pat Shurmur, people in Colorado, we had a little moment of like, Pat Shurmur is going to be our OC because he did not do well at the Broncos. He was really bad, and he has earned a lot of respect back. He's done a lot of things we enjoy. He is a running OC, and so it was confusing to be so pass heavy this year.
Well, you got to go with your talent, though, right? Shedeur by far is the talent.
Correct. But I think you're like me, that balance, you do want to run. If you guys don't think we're going to run, aren't you going to put 7 or 8 and come at us and light us up as quick as you can so we can't take the shots? And maybe I don't know if your DBs can hold up man to man or hold up
They did okay. 20 interceptions, led the nation,
Yeah.
and yeah, so our defensive backfield isn't where we've had issues. If there's ever been breakdowns, it's been on injuries in the linebacking core. So we'll have to see who plays. I'm not sure if Taggart's going to be able to play this game or not, but
Yeah.
that's an area that I think you guys. I don't know how much you guys use your tight ends, but
We
I
don't have.
think if you don't, you're so it sounds very similar. I don't know.
No,
These
we're
these
actually
OCs don't
playing.
use in tight end like they should. I
We're
don't.
actually playing a converted defender into a tight end. He's had a good season. Where he's very valuable is he comes in and goes in motion and cuts in on run blocking, and then
Right.
we can get in there with through the linebacker. We'll be the most healthy we've ever been, and so the running game could be established. I do think they want to run. I don't think they want Shedeur to get hit or risk anything
Not for a
or
bowl game that doesn't mean
no.
anything.
No,
I would be
so
surprised.
quicker throws, maybe more creativity. I'll bet you'll see some flea flickers and
I
stuff
was
like
going to ask
that.
you that. BYU does that too.
Yeah.
I hope both of them do because those are entertaining plays, right?
Well, the one thing they wanted Travis that didn't happen in the Oklahoma State game the way they wanted was for Travis to throw a ball,
Oh, really?
and he has a really good arm. Like honestly, I'd put him as the
He
backup.
played quarterback. He played quarterback in high school, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
got
he
a
was
really good arm.
an all what he was just athlete. He wasn't tied to one play, one position at all in high school.
Correct,
So
correct. I do have a couple of good friends, obviously, that are BYU fans. So got a few dollars on the game. We both think it'll be a close, very, very close middle score game. It's going to be really enjoyable to watch this game.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. If anybody that's watching right now, if you have questions or comments about this game in particular, put them in. I'll try to flag them as we're going through this show. I don't anticipate us going, our normal 2 hours. If we go another half hour or so, that'd be great. This is the first time we've had Fergie on the show, so I think we want to sort of work him in, but we appreciate him being here. I jumped right into the monologue and everything else at the beginning. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
So I live in Denver, right in downtown, just south of downtown Denver by DU, Denver University. So I could go up and watch some really good hockey if I want to there. But basically, Colorado guy, went to school not at Boulder, but at Colorado Springs, which is a sister school because Boulder doesn't have men's soccer. So I played soccer for Colorado Springs and just love the area, love the team, love the colors. Grew up when they were the true powerhouse buffs. My favorite player is Eric Bieniemy, number one.
Oh, Eric, yeah, boy. So I watched. Can I break in really quick?
Yeah.
I was at the University of Washington game,
Mm-hmm.
where Washington was supposed to have a team that could compete for the national championship again, right? There was on a stretch there between 89 and 94 where Washington was in the top five every season. Colorado came up there, and I was at that game with a couple of my best friends, and Colorado dominated. I mean, it was a pummeling.
That was the Salinesi inspiration game. Am I correct on that?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
He was sick right then.
He was, yeah, he did some sort of all I remember is that at the end of the game, both teams went out to the middle of the field and pointed.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really, really cool. So Colorado has had a history of having really good teams, just went through this little bad phase, and now you guys are sure back. Anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. Funny story is I was in Lincoln, Nebraska in the game later that championship season where it was so cold. I thought I was going to lose my toes. And Eric was fumbling. Like he fumbled 4 times. He couldn't, and he's a stocky guy like me, and he couldn't hold the ball.
Right.
He fumbles 4 times. Nebraska's ahead. And then he comes back with 4 fourth quarter touchdowns, and we are just ecstatic. We know that we're now positioning ourselves to win the Big 8 at the time. And I just love the guy. I wish he's struggling to really find his footing as a coach, and I don't understand it, but he's, I'm just going to love him as a player and go from there. But we had so many great players. I know a lot of them. And after the 94 season, when we kind of try to think which Buffs teams were great, 89, 90, 94, 95, and then we disappeared from college
Well, you
football.
lost your coach.
Hmm.
Lost your coach, who was I believe he's in He's in the Hall of Fame, I believe.
Yep, Coach
Uh,
Mack went in the Hall of Fame
yeah,
after '94, after he retired, and then Coach Barnett came in and Coach Neuheisel and on and on. And it's just a matter of not staying consistent and not being there. Kind of a interesting connection. Coach Hawkins gets the Buffs to a bowl game at 6-6, and it's a little trivia question. Who did Colorado play in the bowl with Coach Hawkins when Colorado was 6-6 and the other team was 6-6? Who do you think the other team was?
I have no idea.
Nick Saban's first Alabama team is
Oh,
6-6,
really?
plays Colorado in a bowl game, wins, goes 7-6, and then Nick Saban does everything right.
Right.
Colorado goes 7-6 or 6-7 and does nothing right from then on till 2016. And then now back to the prime days. So
The move to the Pac-12 was the stupidest decision, in my opinion.
I would agree.
The
We,
Big
we
12, the Big 12 was a monster conference then. You guys had everybody. I mean, it was loaded.
Yep.
And
Common denominator though
yeah,
was Texas, and Texas and USC are conference killers. They love to just, they feel they're the best and they make their moves. And the Texas Longhorn Network was a backbreaker.
right.
And everybody, it's sad to think about all the teams that were together: Colorado, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas
Yep.
A&M, and they all scattered. Ironically, Texas stayed in the Big 12 until last year, and then they finally do it again. And
Right.
so tragically, we're not big fans of Texas. I mean, if we went through the rivalry, obviously I mentioned Lincoln, Nebraska, Colorado rivalry up to even this year is epic, is an absolute, we live for that. Tragically, we're not on each other's schedule for a long time unless something changes. We're no longer playing Colorado State for a couple of years. So that's a tragedy. We went to the Pac-12, like you mentioned. It didn't really. The funny story is we felt that we have more boosters in California than any other state, but that's all they were. They're just
But see,
fans.
that
They
was a
weren't our
decision.
guys.
Yeah, that was a decision based on broken metrics. The
Correct.
Pac-12's entire business plan was broken from the very outset of the Pac-12.
Correct. So
So
then, ironically, which I love I love him to death. He's so smart and so nice. They kind of try to force Colorado and Utah together as
yeah,
rivals, and there's nothing more than just we like each other and respect each other, but we have no animosity. We have no history.
right.
It didn't work. So now Colorado's kind of rivalry-less. I did like the Oklahoma State scheduling at the end of the season. Tragically, that game was not good. But if you think about Oklahoma State, we're kind of like back together, old Big 8 buddies. We lost our rival in Nebraska. They lost their rival in Oklahoma. So I don't mind us temporarily being rivals as Oklahoma State. I love the rivalry potentially that could develop with BYU. Arizona State, we're not big fans of. We love Iowa State. We used to have some great winter games against Iowa State back in the days, and their stadium is a very nice place to watch games. Kansas State, when Snyder came along and did what our coach did, and kind of said, I'm going to stand up to the bullies and I'm going to build a great program. And he really did great with the Jayhawk JUCO college teams and players. We respected Kansas State, but Kansas State 40, 50 years ago was like Colorado the last 20 years, where they were a bad football team.
Yeah, yeah. They turned that around. All right,
Big time.
let's jump into our next topic and let's quickly touch on what's going on with NIL and the transfer portal and
Okay.
how it affects basically. Let's just talk about the Big 12 for a second. So I watched these transfer portal announcements. All glory to God, which is a great saying, and then they say, but we're leaving you at the altar, and we're going and going to go play football other places.
Yeah.
Without getting into the values of whether you should or shouldn't be able to transfer, and whether the money is something that it should be the determiner where these players end up. As the number one team in the Big 12 that absolutely lives in the portal, you guys have had so many players come through there in the last 2 years. How do you feel that that's gone? Because the first year wasn't great. It didn't seem like there was a lot of returns, but this last year something changed. So tell us from your standpoint as a Colorado fan, how has Deion made that work?
Well, obviously the infamous meeting, the I'm bringing my Louis, was a moment of shock for even us fans, because we do fall in love with the players that are on our team. And then all of a sudden, within a week, more than half the team is leaving. We're going to be honest. A lot of those players were not quite Pac-12 or Big 12 level players to be able to compete. Obviously, the record 1-11, and it was a bad 1-11.
Who did you guys beat that year?
Cal at the very end, and we shouldn't have. And it was a party. It was a pizza party afterwards, but that's how sad it was. Okay. But they lost by 20 to 30 points per game.
Right.
Every game.
I didn't watch a lot of Colorado football.
Nobody did. But that was a shock. And obviously, not to get too deep into it, but if you go from that meeting to the TCU game, that was incredible. Like the ability to be competitive, organized, dangerous, scoring points that we've never scored. That collectively was good, but you knew there was no depth. There was, beyond maybe 20 players. We were not true Pac-12 level quality, and it caught up, and then things went really bad. I don't blame the players for a couple of games. The Stanford game that we lost when we were up by 30 was coaching, not players.
Yeah, that was thrown away last year. I watched that, and it was like a train wreck. I couldn't believe what I was watching. That was insane.
Nathan,
Stanford was bad. Stanford's a bad team.
I'm the kind of guy, I'm a little bit like you. I'm a bit of a nerd. They could have snapped the ball and kneeled down every play and won the game. But if you mess around and stop the clock and throw interceptions and
what's Shedeur throwing a pass for when you're up 17 in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left? What's going on with that? How does that happen?
Getting a few stats. But obviously
every possession is 2 minutes. If all you do is kneel on the ball.
Correct.
2 minutes.
Correct. So obviously we finished 4-8.
It's like the Atlanta Falcons. My goodness, learn how to run the ball for 3 yards 3 times. I mean, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I love it. So last year, obviously, and we had a guy on a radio show did a really good job of talking about like having a fishbowl with like balls in it. And imagine the first team, you got to take a bunch of balls out and put a bunch of balls in. And if you look at the ratings and you look at the player effectiveness, we just slowly, even though it was a lot, we just slowly improved the roster so that you had a 2 deep, and then you finally had a little bit of a 3 deep. And the number one thing that Prime did last year and the PFF guys do a great job of telling everyone this is we got real defensive linemen, really big. I mean, we gained 30, 40 pounds per position. Their number one PFF grade was on run defense.
Okay.
And that alone really made us have 9 wins this year, was the ability to stop. Now, obviously, Kansas State, Nebraska, Kansas, they fell asleep. They didn't do their job. But the other 9 games, we stopped them on defense with our defensive line. We got some good inside linebacker play, and we have truly NFL corners. I mean, we truly have one of the best corners. Travis, DJ McKinney, that transferred from Oklahoma State, is a projected first or second rounder. We got a great slot corner, and our fourth corner would have started at Auburn last year and transfers to Colorado to be coached by Prime. If your fourth corner is an SEC starter, that's improvement. That's a big quality improvement. And then add the receivers, add Shedeur. I'm still an old fashioned. The reason I love Eric Bieniemy was running. I want to run the ball again, balanced. I think we'll have to next year to
Well,
get
you have to stay in a game without Shedeur and
yeah
Travis.
with Juju. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but we've added 4 transfers today.
Oh, wow.
We got another quarterback today. We got the Liberty kid who's top 5 transfer quarterback, and he's going to compete or work with Juju to, he's got 1 year left and Juju's 17, but it's going to be, at least I think we're more solidified in that position. And then we've added just so much great talent, another DB, another lineman.
So
We
you see
finally,
it as a success then? You see the transfer portal as a means to build a team, even
yes.
though that team might only have a shelf life of a year?
Well, I think that you have to look a little deeper because the guys I'm mentioning to you, DJ McKinney, when he transferred from Oklahoma State, was a sophomore. Um, Colton Hood, the kid who's the 4th corner, was a sophomore. So this year's transfer portal guys were guys who had 3 years or 2
Okay.
years. So we were just re-recruiting our 22s and 23s that we had no quality at the time.
Right.
Prime's hope is to wean us down to where you take 20 high school, then you take a couple of seniors to cap off your team, and then you've got to fill in that middle ground where you improve your depth with guys that coulda, woulda, shoulda came. So was it traumatic? But if you look at everyone else, Arizona State did more portaling than we did.
Well, they
And
had to. They
they
were so empty bare. They had to fill the
correct.
team.
And you do know Jordan Tyson was a
I
buff before
I
the
did
bad.
know that.
He was
Yeah.
he was part of the bad buffs, and
Right.
we did not want him to go.
Well, and this year, I mean, had a breakout year. Let's be honest. It's not like
He
the
tore his
the
ACL.
yeah. Well, and injuries
Before.
sort of abruptly, they retard some of that progression. So you
Correct.
wouldn't necessarily know where they'd end up. But this year was obviously a breakout year for him.
Yeah.
And whether he comes back or not is still, I guess, up in the air. He could go to the NFL. He's got that eligibility now. So
Yeah. But
we'll have to see.
my final answer on the portal would be the first 2 years of the prime era were traumatic because it had to be. It was like taking a tumor out, and you
Right.
had to just do it. Now I think I can see this 15 to 20 high school. Now the only problem with this guys for 5, 6, 7 years is how does your class balance work anymore? Because it's not 25. I might have 6 years of players, and how do I fill so that they are longer term? And we want longer term. There's no doubt that we want longer term, but when you get big seniors that know they want to go to the NFL, our D-line coaches are 2 of the best D-line coaches, so guys are going to come. And if I'm a cornerback, I would love to come play for Coach Prime because he's going to give you some advice. If you ever watch his tape, he's teaching them exactly on how a foot leans
Sure.
or which hand goes against the defender. You can't get that at many schools.
Okay.
So it's a good thing.
Well, I appreciate it, and he's made it work. So you can't really complain with the. I think people that had a question in the air after last year, they didn't see that progression, but then over another year of coaching, and then you obviously have the best players have excelled in their positions.
Yep.
You turn around and have a 9-3 season that honestly had so much more up. Right, you guys did a great job. Let's get to some comments. And like I said, we don't talk a lot of Colorado, so people are asking questions that I honestly don't know the answer to. We'll try to keep these answers short so that we don't go too long.
Okay.
By the way, this is your last chance to get your comments in. I'm trying to flag as many as I can. If you want your comment to be read for sure, make it a super chat. That's just what we're gonna have to do for time. And we'll go another 20 minutes. How about that? So
That
you guys have
sounds
about
good.
20 minutes, get your comments in, and we'll talk more Colorado because it's a mystery ball. Nobody knows what you guys are going to do from week to week almost. Chris E says even this year Ponder showed in practice that he's better than is it Staub?
Stop.
Ponder is 6'3" and was making NFL throws. I
Yep.
don't know anything about either of these guys. I'm assuming this is your backup and backup.
That's a
Who's
third.
backup?
Ponder was listed third. Staub was listed second. Staub played against Utah last year. played well. He's a good college quarterback, but these two have to decide what to do now that we have Juju and we have Salter, the Liberty quarterback. It'll be interesting. Staub would probably really do well at a G5. Ponder is just raw. He is a big, good player, and he loves getting coached up. So you got to have
that big is it's gonna take some time though.
Yeah,
a 6'3" guy. There's a lot to move.
Yeah, he throws a good ball, but he's a little wild.
Okay, all right. And would you be surprised if either of these guys transferred, especially because of the recruiting that you guys have just recently done? I didn't know about the Liberty kid. That's a big win.
I would
the
not be
5-star coming out of California would scare me to death.
I think Ponder's going to stick around because he likes the development. I could see Staub going somewhere else because of having Juju and Salter and Ponder, and we did lose 2 or 3 other quarterbacks. They already transferred. So
oh wow, okay.
It'll readjust itself.
I think that's the life we're living now with NIL and transfer portal unlimited. G, good to see you, G. Thanks for showing up tonight. What do you think Staub should do after the bowl? Stay for another year or leave? I think he has 3 years left of eligibility. What would you do with him?
Well, I think that when I mentioned how long Shedeur will play the game, if Staub can get in the second half and put some good play together, I could see him doing similar. We had a quarterback last year that went to San Diego State. I want to see kids play, and Prime will help kids get to where they want to play. So I think Staub's going to probably transfer unless he's just willing to keep battling. But he's a good player. Should have beat Utah last year, and we'll see him maybe go somewhere. As these things move around, there'll be a spot for him.
Sounds good. Chrissy, another question. Omari and Miller that got knee injury in the K-State game. Yeah, that was unfortunate. That game was a shootout for sure until he got hurt.
We lost every receiver. We almost lost every receiver, and especially Omarion, who was on a heater. He was really doing it. I was at that game, and he got injured right in front of me.
That's injuries suck. Will he be the number 1 receiver next year?
He should be. He's kind of taken the big body like where Will Shepherd is right now.
Okay.
I love him to death. I wanted him to be number 1. He went off against USC his freshman year. He went off against Kansas State, but we kept putting good receivers in front of him. He's ready to be the number 1 next year. He's that kind of kid.
Okay. Hopefully we see him on it's next set, the 28th.
Yeah, he is not. He's not practicing, and his broken leg is still.
Oh, he's still healing. Okay.
Yeah, he broke his leg.
Harry Austin checking in, another member of the Mafia family. Good to have you, Harry. Evening Bomber and Big 12 Mafia Nation. Thanks, Harry, for checking in. It's great to see you. He also says, let's go Colorado Buffaloes.
I like Harry.
Moen Vision. Oh, Moen, what are you doing in here? Big 10 metrics for the win.
Oh, come on, Moen. Would he not take BYU and Colorado in exchange?
No, I think he respects that.
Well, BYU and Colorado. No, but BYU and Colorado taking the slots of Northwestern and Rutgers in the Big 10 would make the metrics better.
Today it would, for sure. I agree with you. Harry Austin says, super sticker, $20. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
I don't do the sounders, but I'm going to give you a clap. Thanks for being here and keeping the lights on. I appreciate you being here, Chris. Thank you so much for your super sticker. Let's see here. Timothy Green. Good to see you, Timothy Green. He's an OG Mafia member. Thanks for being here, Timothy. Fergie, thank you for coming on the show. You have been really nice guests.
Thank you.
There you go.
Timothy.
Also says Bomber, and by the way, if you're new to the channel, if you use my name in one of your comments, I'm more apt to grab it and say it, just so everybody knows, a little trick of the trade. Bomber, I wish you the best in your bowl game, and I will catch you on your next show, sir. I've been on a local West Virginia show, but I want to wish you good luck on your bowl game. Okay, thanks, Timothy. Thanks for your everything you do for us. You're constantly talking us up. And definitely an OG around here. Let's see here. The Town Hawk says, I am the milkman. We were talking about that earlier in the show.
But isn't he the Kansas guy that did rip through us?
He did, and he knows it too. He says my milk is delicious. So yes, we love to hate Kansas. They screwed up the CFP for the Big 12.
Where is Mark Mangino today? I'm trying to maybe I'll have to Google that.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't tracked his whereabouts. Daniel Gygax, the Cowboys and 49ers use Prime as the fourth receiver.
Yep.
Hunter can play in the same role. He was also a kick returner.
Yeah,
Just to
that
be
was
clear.
one thing we had a discussion about Travis. Travis is a phenomenal kick returner, but the decision was made that
No, he
we
get hurt.
can't. Oh yeah, we can't go
Yeah.
that far. But I will tell you, a couple of those games where we were close, we were all like, put Travis back for one kick return.
It's a dangerous position to play.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah, it's probably the kick return guy for punts. It's probably that's the most dangerous position on the field. I
Correct.
think. Yeah. You got guys barreling in India at 900 miles an hour, and you are given just the smallest area to catch a ball. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Replica checking in saying it should be easier for Travis to play both ways in the NFL. Less snaps than college, and offensive players are more protected in the NFL. My guess is he'll play between 60 to 75 snaps a game. If he only played 60 to 75, how many of those are on offense per game?
Probably that would cut it down to probably 10 to 15 max.
Yeah,
and then they want to keep him on shutdown corner. But there's a lot of times if you watch Travis on like an all 22, he's really smart about when to rest and how to rest and not take those snaps and those types of things. But a shutdown corner is worth so much, and they do need to be on the field to be the shutdown corner. So
right.
It'll be interesting how a team handles it. It's going to be interesting if they can handle it, and he plays it smart.
What was interesting to me when we talked about this a couple weeks ago is that in the NFL, the pay tiers, receiver is above corner, which surprises me because a corner can affect more of the game than one single position on the offense, in my opinion, because they can be in so many different spots.
Agreed.
On the defensive backfield. I was stunned. I thought it's just it had to be more corner.
I think it's just agents doing a good job for the loudest people who are the wide receivers. But
well,
I would say your
that's
point
true.
Right there was one thing about the whole Genty Travis discussion this last week when he won the Heisman was Travis that. But I think the biggest thing that Travis did that I've never seen, I saw him in person many, many games, is the other teams, and this will happen for BYU, the other team's game plan has to actually have Travis in mind all the time.
Yeah.
He will beat you. He has the most long passes as a receiver, so he's going to beat you there potentially. And then I doubt your quarterback's really going to, Jake's not going to look at Travis's side that many times because he doesn't want to get postered by Travis. So
I know he better be avoiding that side of the field.
Exactly. So that alone is why Travis, I feel, was a great, unique Heisman winner. Genty, I'm a running back guy. He was awesome. I don't want to knock anything about it, but Genty in the Big 12, I just don't think he'd get quite the same yards. And we had some running backs. You take the couple of the Big 12 running backs, who are some of the best I've seen in a long time.
As a group, the Big 12 had some of the best running backs in the country this year.
Yeah, powerful, great. Yeah. The Kansas running back was a
Neil,
man.
That guy.
Oh,
I would draft him to be a fullback.
He had his sights set on beating Colorado by himself. So
they game planned for those teams, and each team made mistakes.
Yep.
BYU turned the ball over on stupid turnovers, and Colorado had key mistakes in the wrong positions.
Couldn't tackle him. Missed tackles. They said something that we had like 30 missed tackles, and they were big missed tackles.
At the end of the season, the Kansas team, except for last week, Kansas was the team that we expected them to be at the beginning of the season. It just took them a few weeks to get tuned up. Anyway, let's see here. Shonsky says, I heard Florida State withdrew from their lawsuit. Is this true?
Ooh.
Not officially, Shonsky. From what I'm hearing, and I saw Greg Flukar peek around the corner here. He's hearing that there is some discussion about them either, dialing back what the lawsuit is or completely pulling out. There's nothing that has happened final.
Wow.
I haven't seen one report that said Florida State's out. I would be stunned after investing so much money if they didn't take them up to the very end of January. You're already in already. They're all in now. Why would you?
Especially, now? We're waiting for that critical moment where ESPN renews or follows through on their
That's what I'm talking
final.
about. Yeah, that's what I'm talking
So,
about.
but maybe when this stuff happens, something's already happened. Meaning they've already, if it happens or if it is happening, deals have been made behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So
I would be stunned if they pull out before that decision by ESPN. They have all the leverage. I would make ESPN commit, but I'm not an administrator at Florida State who had a historically bad season. And they've gone 1-11 before, and it wasn't as bad as this year.
no, but they've
This
doubled
year's
down.
team.
They got Nebraska's DC. They got our
Oh
recruiting
yeah.
coordinator. They got their. It looks like it's all in to save Norvell, and save their image
Well,
before.
when you hire a head coach away from a team to come in and be your offensive coordinator, you know that you're going deep to try to win
Correct.
everything next year. Now, their talent level, obviously, Florida State has one of the best recruiting years every year. So
Yep.
Florida State's not going to be behind on talent, but their coaching last year was just
Yeah.
horrendous. And I realized they just re-signed Norvell. I would be stunned if he goes 4-8 next year. I think he's gone.
QB play will be everything though, because DJ, he's a good kid, but he was so inaccurate, and you just cannot.
Well, he can't
You
throw the
have
ball.
you have to have good quarterback play to even start the day, and he just really didn't look like he could play, and that was a tragedy.
Yeah, I agree with that. To Town Hawk, Florida State administrators are talking real nice about the ACC lately. That's what Greg had talked about on his show. I just that doesn't mean that they're pulling out, in
Yeah.
my opinion. I think what they're doing is they're trying to maybe pull back some of the rhetoric, which hasn't helped.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. I mean, tomorrow they could put out something that says we've settled and we're all blood brothers again. I don't know.
Yep.
A lot of blood have been spilt for that relationship to continue.
Agreed.
A couple more comments here, and then we're going to get out. Let's see. Keep chopping. Georgia should bring in Shedeur Sanders to play in the CFP. The NCAA has no way to stop it. Well,
except you have to be. Luckily, you still got to be registered at the school. You got to be a student at the school. So even though someone could get 10 years, if they're still going to school at your school, going to class, they're going to be fine. So I agree that it's kind of amazing the quarterback play of some of the teams in the CFP or in certain positions versus other quarterbacks that have had great years. So the Syracuse quarterback was phenomenal. So, I mean, it was pretty impressive.
Next year is going to be interesting because a lot of these teams that went 9-3 in the SEC are going to be spending mad amounts of money to bring in talent. And in this offseason, they want to compete with the Big Ten, who by far is the richest conference in America. And we'll have to see how the SEC, deals with the Alabama getting left out story. Clemson blew that up, and I don't know. I don't know what next year is going to look like. They should go to 14 or 16 teams.
I'm a big fan of the 16 team only because, and I even have an idea where you could have the 1 through 8 seed could have the 5 top conference winners could be in 1 to 8, but they're not guaranteed where they're at in 1 to 8. So they still get some guarantees, but if some really good teams would fit in the 3 or 4 slot and move them up to the, that's what you get for winning a conference is at least you're going to get a home game and at least you're going to be an upper seed. But this year, let's see how it plays out. It's going to be entertaining, but it definitely didn't. There's so many holes to shoot into it about where someone is or isn't or was or wasn't. I'd love to see 16. Now, Nathan, you make the comment about richest. How do we judge that anymore? Yes, they have the TV deal where it puts 120 million into the school, but if Michigan State or little inside baseball, Colorado has boosters. We have money.
I think it's endowments. We're talking about how these schools are mostly funded, and Wild Ute has done that data dive, and by far and away, the Big Ten has the most money when it comes to operating, right? So these universities have, but if you're going to support a 12 or 15 or $20 billion endowment, that has to mean that your graduates have a lot of money to prop
Correct.
that up every year. So that's what that statement's based on. It's not
Okay.
just out of the air saying the Big Ten's better than the SEC just because I say so. It's actually based on all the numbers that we did during realignment, and it
Yep.
by far and away, especially the only thing they're missing is Stanford. If they brought in Stanford and Notre Dame, the Big Ten by far would have the most access and the most money to do something of their own in college football if
Yeah.
they decided to do that.
Yeah.
When they brought in Washington, they brought in a massive endowment. Oregon doesn't have really anything to speak of,
They have
but they have
one man. They have one
right,
man.
right, and it's an athletic endowment. It's not necessarily given endowments for medical centers.
Yeah.
So it's just how does the SEC compete when this old money, this money that is going to support these programs, and you have Minnesota competing to get into the CFP and Alabama gets left out. You have an Indiana 11-1 that didn't win their conference and really played nobody in the top 25 except for the one game they lost to Ohio State, and yet they're in. Meanwhile, the SEC is beating the crap out of each other. I mean, these are longer conversations, but that's
Yeah.
what it comes down to is the Big Ten is established, and they're not going away.
Yeah.
The SEC has probably most talent
Yep.
from start to finish.
Just because
But
the recruiting grounds. But the whole
yeah,
point
I
of
mean, they're
the whole,
home field advantage, right?
the whole point about the money though is interesting just because Colorado actually has a very large endowment, is an AAU school, has
Right.
major boosters that are back in the fold. The state of Colorado, since 1990, when the Buffs won the national championship, the state of Colorado had 3 million people. The state of Colorado today has 5.8 million people. And they are mostly, ironically, California and Texas people who have a lot of money.
Yes.
And their money spends better in Colorado.
Same
So
things happen in Utah.
exactly,
Yeah.
that's one thing I totally applaud about Utah and and BYU. And I know BYU boosters and fans, my friends, have done well. And the LDS Church has always marveled me at. They take care of disasters. I have a good friend who I worked for. He owned a financial firm who has taken care of so many families and fed so many people. I love and admire what the LDS has done. So it's a big deal.
Well, we're glad to be in the Big 12. I know that. Probably, one of the most appreciative fans that are in the Big 12. But I mean, we're all here now.
Yeah.
In 5-6 years, things could change again.
Yeah.
Right. The Big 10 could decide they want to go to 24 and take over the world, which would mean the SEC would probably have to go to at least 20. And now you have these two monster leagues that have all the money and power. Who knows where it goes? But Colorado, in my opinion, is especially if Deion sticks around for another 3-4 years, Colorado's at the top of that list for graduating and going either to the SEC, which they could come farther west if they wanted, but more than likely going to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
If they go to 24 teams. So
yeah, I think and that was an interesting thing. My theory is like we need to truly support the Big 12 as much as possible right now.
Yes.
Because we all need it. But it's interesting at the same time that a Kansas or Colorado or Utah or BYU or Arizona State or anybody that believes that they have either higher aspirations or whatever may or not make that move. Listening to Greg talk about private equity, I just don't know if BYU or Colorado, I don't think any of our boosters or administrators are going to sign off on locking us into the Big 12 by taking private equity at the conference level, because I don't think we want to lose flexibility. And
sorry, we were going to dip out here, but we can talk about this for a second. So private equity as an entity being able to be used by a conference, let's say at the conference level, it's a worry. It's a worry at these conservative schools or schools that have wanted to more control their future, to dial in and say, we're going to commit X to buy whatever this private equity money is going to go, whether that's operating budget or whatever. This money comes in as an entity. If there's a way that they could fashion it so that it's all done at the conference level and it doesn't come down in effect, I'll just talk about BYU. BYU is not going to open the books for anybody. They're not going to tell anybody where the money comes from or where it's going. They're going to tell you where it's not coming from. But other than that, they're not going to. That's just not something they're going to share because they don't have to. They're a private religious school. That's not something they report to a state entity.
Yep.
But if they can keep their equity money at the conference level, meaning you can commit for the conference to go out, and the only reason I would say bring in private equity in Big 12 is to bring in schools from the ACC. I don't see it going operating budget or anything else.
But if the Big 12 takes PE to get more teams,
yes,
with the theory that the existing teams and possibly teams that are doing well, Colorado, have to then recommit to a bigger Gore or a bigger whatever. That's my point. Is it's a give and take. They're going to buy in or lend money because they believe they're getting the collective group of teams. And what I'm saying is that if I'm Colorado and I have potentially now plenty of money to pay Prime the most money as in a contract and take care of NIL and build up the infrastructure, we're doing that to go and make sure we're going to stay at the top of this conference or the future. And the PE from that third party could just be, your point was perfect on BYU's books, and our point may be just not being tied into that. So it's you guys have made great discussions about what could or should happen.
Right.
But the ramifications, and this is where I default to Ute, his analytical ability to say this doesn't add up calculation wise. Right. Colorado is very much potentially one of those schools that will take on some form of PE within the state of Colorado because it could be worth it we need to improve our stadium. Folsom is a beautiful field, but we need to put
more seats.
We need to get to 65,000 seats.
Get rid of that end zone thing with the Colorado seats.
No.
Come on, step up, be a big program. Get over 55,000 people, maybe.
But then but Mork and Mindy was right there. We can't do that.
I think it's a ridiculous thing to hang on to. And nowadays, the standard BYU being the largest stadium in the Big 12 is ridiculous. When you look at the schools that are in this conference, Oklahoma State, for instance, I think Oklahoma State and Texas Tech are the two I would point to and say, what are you doing? Yeah. Why don't you guys have 65? You're in Texas. Yeah. For heaven's sakes, you should be building bigger stadiums so that when we're filling these things, they look better on TV.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying, being an OG, a Colorado fan. When I see that Colorado in the end zone, all I see is lost opportunity for you guys to do everything you can with merchandising, bringing in additional revenue, all these other things you're missing out on just for some, emotional attachment to a 70s TV show.
Have you been to Folsom Field though?
Yet? No, I've only seen it on television. I said so. That.
Our west stand is horrific. It's an old press box. We don't have a second deck all along there. We can actually put plenty over there and not have to worry about the rest. That's where we're missing as a stadium. We're missing about a third of our stadium is not properly built over there. So, and there's a discussion that there's a plan to fix it. Have you ever seen our sidelines though? They're scary dangerous. Like Oklahoma State and Colorado, there's only like 18 feet on the side.
No, I've seen them. Yeah, I've seen players running into the brick walls. Yeah. I've seen that on TV. It doesn't look fun. And do you guys have real grass? Or you guys?
We have real grass. We love the real grass. We used to have turf back in the Big 8 days, but we have beautiful grass. It grows really nice.
Actually, I remember that grass. Not the fake grass during the 90s. I remember watching.
It was ugly.
Sean Salaman. Yeah, it was.
And it sloped too, and they would run down the hill. I will tell you, I want to circle back. I know we're almost done, but you will be excited to know that Ralphie is going to be at the Alamo Bowl. She will run. Right. She ran in 2016. She'll run this year.
Okay.
Our current Ralphie, she's a young little lady. She's only 2.5. She's not been our fastest. Our old Ralphie was a demon. She would go fast, but hopefully she travels well. Hopefully she runs well. She doesn't run well late at night. And the only thing that's funny about the Alamo Bowl that they put on the ticker is that she has to turn left instead of right. In Folsom, she runs out and turns right and comes back to the trailer.
Okay.
At the Alamo Bowl, because I think where the trailer has to leave the field, she has to run left.
Okay.
So let's all, you and I, on Saturday, the first thing that matters at this game is that
Okay.
she runs a good trip.
Okay, honestly say I've never watched the mascots at any game ever.
She'll be
So
she'll
that'll
be
be
on there.
something to draw my attention. It's nice to know that your Buffalo runs.
We
That's good
care
to
we
know.
care about the Ralphie handlers are on scholarship.
That's great. I think that's fantastic. Antoine Coates, the last comment we're going to get to tonight. He's been a member for 11 months. Thank you, Antoine. Thank you so much. Can't wait for next week, Arizona State. You guys got to represent, win that game. I'm not sure any Four Corners school signs off on private equity. Yeah, it's a concern. Like I said, just because you bring in private equity doesn't mean it can't be a term contract. You're
True.
concerned about signing an unlimited gore. Who's to say they don't come up with something creative where there's like 5-6 years we'll be out, right? We'll
Yeah.
pay this thing off.
Yeah.
The payment schedule will be worked out so that everything they get from us, they'll get their interest plus. At the same time, the conference turns around and tries to, build itself up again.
Yeah.
I just think, and I know we're not going to get to this because the ACC got 2 teams in the playoff, but I still think it's in the Big 12's best interest to try to take the biggest brands from the ACC and bring them in even for a short term. So let's see until the ESPN deal is done. That's the next thing that has to happen February 1st next year. So Anton, thanks for being here. I agree with you. I think Four Corners and Colorado, all those schools, they might not do it. It's true.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is where we're going to sign off. So, Fergie, why don't you again tell everybody where to find you and kind of what you cover?
Well, I'm not super social media active. I've got a busy life running my company where I do like parks and recreation projects. So I love to just be on the shows and watch it on YouTube. And I don't really follow my Twitter too much, so I apologize. Next time
Oh, that's okay.
next
No,
time I'm
fine.
on, maybe I'll do that. I try to focus on family and focus on business. But I'd love to come back and give people the behind the scenes at Colorado. It's been a ride. We were, when Prime came, we celebrated. We got a little cautious and try to understand how he wanted to do it. But now 99% of us absolutely know that he saved us and he's here to stay. I believe after the bowl game, there's going to be an announcement of a pretty amazing contract, and that he's going to have even more flexibility. He really almost runs the program. He's the CEO of everything.
Colorado had to change all their entrance things and everything.
Yeah.
Well,
when you have nothing and someone's coming and gives you everything, you give them as much leeway and freedom. And Rick George, who's had not the greatest time hiring coaches, he really hit it out of the park. And I will say one thing that I'm proud of as a Colorado fan is Colorado has hired 4 black coaches, and most of the SEC's never hired one. And I believe that that's a tragedy. And Prime has mentioned how much he loves Colorado people and how we treat their players. And that's that love and affection, having meals at restaurants named after the players and coming downtown Boulder and downtown Denver. We love our Buffs, and we've got a lot of people that are on board. So,
all right. Well, insight into Colorado is something we have not had here very often. And we had David Talks Buffs. So I've locked on Colorado a couple times, and he's very good at what he does as well. Very busy guy. So having you come on and help us, I think that's really great. I appreciate you spending some time with me tonight. I want to remind everybody that in 2 nights, Friday night, we'll have our Big Freaking Friday show. Moen, Ute, and I'll be here. And that should be fun. That'll be 7 Eastern. And we'll preview the weekend's first playoff round of games and see kind of what we project for those winners going in next week, which is really the main round
prediction
of games.
You and I prediction right now. What do you think? You in Colorado?
I know both these teams want to win. I think the one concern I would have for your team is I do believe that Shedeur and Travis are probably 30-minute guys at the most, maybe even 15, 20-minute. And that would kind of unbalance it. But I think both teams want to win this game. And for BYU, it's a big deal because obviously coming into the Big 12 first year. What didn't go great. This year, winning 10 games is pretty cool.
Awesome.
And I think they want to finish it with a win. You finished 11-2 in any season in modern day football. That's doing pretty well.
It's impressive.
9-3. You guys could be in the same thing. 10 and that would be pretty cool for a Colorado team that 2 years ago won one game. That's a great markup too.
My simple prediction will be, I think it's going to come down to the very end. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it comes down to the end. If for any reason Shedeur and Travis play a lot, I do think Colorado might squeak it out. If not, and BYU establishes a balanced attack, I think BYU might win. But I think it's a small line, and it's going to be a great game. So obviously we know who we want to win. So
right. Well, I'm not against that. Absolutely. I appreciate everybody watching us tonight on a special Wednesday night edition. We will catch you on Friday. I want everybody to stay out of trouble. In the meantime, you stick around. Don't drop off, Fergie. Okay, we'll talk after the show.
Okay.
Other than that, I appreciate everybody. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. We'll have hopefully Fergie's Twitter will be up and active next time we have him on.
I'll fix it.
But make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Give us that thumbs up. Let us know how we're doing. Comment or question, and consider becoming a member of the Mafia family. We appreciate everybody being with us tonight. Stay out of trouble. We'll see you in 2 days, and we will say peace out. Bye-bye.